your job as well as you can, and to the best of your abilities. And after that, the numbers are going to be what they're going to be. Numbers sometimes show good things, sometimes didn't show so many good things. I think depends on the angle you want to take. You have numbers for everything. These days, I think you have so many numbers that you can make a point, or either way. For a guy, if you want to make him really good, you have numbers to back that up. If you want a guy not to make him look so good, you also have a lot of numbers to look at that too. So it doesn't really matter.
I know there's a lot of GMs that talked about how they're trying to understand the new kind of like spatial data.
Okay.
Like trying to understand how they like as far as contract negotiations, they're really valuing players. Yeah. I mean, do you think that's something that maybe should be played into a player's value? Is
I don't
using
know.
those new numbers?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I really don't know. And to me, it really, it matters, but it matters to a point. Of course, it's going to be a factor of your numbers show. Of course, shows what you produce on the floor, but there are things on the floor that can be measured a lot of times. So you should not only base your opinion on numbers, which makes game. Maybe a lot easier for a lot of people that may not play the game. You just look at numbers and you see who's better, who has the bigger numbers, and that dictates for you who's a better player. But I think there's a lot more into it in basketball than just cold numbers.
So for yourself, how do you measure whether or not you did a good job defensively?
I don't know. First of all, we won the game, and we have a game plan. We execute the game plan. If we won, and you have a feeling. I mean. You have a feeling, of course, after that is tape. You can watch tape and see if you executed the game plan and you did what you're supposed to. And that, tape never lies, especially if you watch it, go on the whole, running the tape, not just watching plays, because a lot of things happen before and after plays. That's how I measure. I know after the game if I play good defense or not. And if you stop not just your man, but the scheme that they have offensively, that means you did a good job.
That was our interview with Marc Gasol, brought to you by Peak Organic Brewing and Lynda.com. So let's quickly talk about Brad Stevens' inbounds plays. Doc Rivers was known for his inventive inbounds plays while he was here. Brad Stevens hasn't really had the reputation yet. All of a sudden, you give him some good players to work with, and he's running all these great backdoor cut alley-oop plays, all sorts of stuff, finding really great shots. I mean, what are you seeing that's different out of this team? Is it really just that the roster is more kind of built better to be able to run these kind of plays?
I think part of it's the roster, part of it is Stevens growing. It doesn't have to necessarily be one or the other. I think it's a combination of the two.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I'm going to go with the combo.
Okay.
So, Stevens has shown, obviously, of late. Last week, they win the Jazz game on an inbounds play that goes to Zeller. Tonight, arguably, they don't win this Memphis game if they don't get that inbound over the top and one alley-oop to Marcus Smart. So, these are big plays that are really making a difference in games. And I think a part of it is they do have some good players to execute it. But, last week against Utah, Tyler Zeller isn't necessarily the ideal guy that you have to throw that lob pass on the interior to. There's a lot of big guys that can, in theory, finish that play in some sort of way. So, that was a great pass. Last week I think it was Smart that made that pass. That was a great pass. But, there's a lot of players that you can plug in. So I think the system and the play call has a lot to do with it too.
And, I mean, the thing is, the finishing ability for a lot of these guys has improved over the year. I mean, Marcus Smart, who has this weird habit of not scoring at all game.
Really relying on jump shots for a long time.
And, and he's, I think after Rondo got traded, he kind of was able to free up his game. And, of course, he had to get healthy, too. But you're seeing Marcus Smart has this weird thing going on where he doesn't score the entire game. And in the last 3 minutes of the game, he's hitting all these amazing and ones. He's showing his finishing ability and his leaping ability are starting to come back. Because that was gone for a while, especially after that ankle sprain. He was not leaving the floor very well. You saw tonight in the alley-oop, he got some serious air there. His strength is allowing him to finish with contact. It's pretty incredible. He had a couple and ones here at the end of the game. So he finished with, he finished with 5 points.
He did have 2 and ones. He just missed the free
he just
throw.
missed one of the free throws. He finished with 5 points.
That was all
he only had
scoring
0
for the
with 2 minutes left in the game, basically, and then he had those 2 games. But I mean, Smart is showing that he can finish better. Avery Bradley is starting to finish a little bit better. Jae Crowder is starting to show more composure on the ball. A lot of it's just kind of continuity with these guys. They've got a system in place now. Of course, when Thomas is in there, he takes so much pressure off of them, so it makes it a lot easier. But guys like Crowder and Smart have had the ball in their hands more, and they're starting to get more comfortable with it.
For sure. and that's a good thing. That's what you want to see from young players, and that's, you know, the playoffs are certainly in sight right now, but a big goal this season is making these young players more comfortable, allowing them to grow. If you can allow them to grow and get more comfortable while advancing in a playoff race, then that's just the cherry on top.
They're a game and a half out from the 8th seed behind the Pacers as of this recording. A game behind the Charlotte Hornets, who just had Lance Stevenson yet again blow another game with his implosion. I mean, the idea that they're going to pass the Hornets in the standings is sounding pretty likely at this point. Catching the Pacers, we'll see. There's a strong hint that Paul George might be returning when they come to Boston. I mean, that could really change things. But they have their chance to get that game, and to get that game in the standings from them.
We'll see what Paul George looks like when he comes back. That could be a huge boost for them. You know, the Celtics have some big games coming up. They have games against the Nets. They have a game against the Hornets. They have a game against the Pacers. These are big games with playoff implications. So, you know, every game's important, but those ones are going to have some serious playoff talks going around them.
All right, so
which we didn't think we would have at this point in the season. Sorry, go ahead.
Unbelievable. Garden report going into April, maybe even May. We'll see. So, very quickly, box and ball. Throw it at me.
Baller of the night, I'm going to go with Kelly Olynyk. He did have those 5 turnovers, as you mentioned in the first video, but this was kind of his comeback game since that injury he was out for a while. He had the 15 points off the bench, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He just played really well. I think it takes a game like this when you're coming back from a long injury to kind of get your feel for the game back, and he did that. And in terms of the box, there were 15 ties in this game, which I think says a lot of how close this entire game was, and the Celtics playing, you know, a level of competition above them, an elite team, and taking a close game like this without their best player probably. So to overcome those 15 ties, really big.
So for me, baller of the night is Avery Bradley. Obviously, he had the big shot. He shot 8 for 17 from the field. Amazingly, only went 1 for 8 from deep. Imagine if he had just a decent three-point night, how big it would have been for him. So he had 17 points and 5 rebounds, and he had to guard Mike Conley, who had a good game too. That's
Conley
a very
had a great
tough
game
task,
despite being off the court
destroying his ankle. Yeah. And we talked to Conley after the game, and he did verify his ankle's going to be fine. No long-term injury concerns at this point. I mean, he did limp out of there pretty badly. He was clearly in pain, but it was a bad ankle sprain, nothing wrong. I asked him, and he confirmed that his knee is fine, no knee injury. So that's very good news for Memphis, because it looked like for a little bit there that his knee had completely been destroyed. So that was very good to hear.
Dr. Jared diagnosed him with a knee
At your
injury.
service. I gave him a physical and everything. So for me, my stat of the night is 4 for 13 from the field and 7 for 9 from the field. Which one is Jeff Green and which one is Tony Allen?
Let's see.
Jeff
Green had the good shooting night, right?
No, Jeff Green had the bad shooting night. Who would have thought? So Jeff Green went 4 for 13 with 11 points. That sounds like a kind of a typical Jeff Green stat line here.
I was just going to say when you were finished, Jeff Green had a classic line tonight.
Classic Jeff Green. Actually, you see him at the top of the box sheet there. It's almost as if it's like a Celtics or box score there. But Tony Allen, 7 for 9 from the field, 16 points. Now, Brad Stevens, I think, explained this best. Why he got that was they kept doubling on Zach Randolph, kept doubling on Marc Gasol. Yep. That opened up a lot of opportunities for Tony Allen to drive. And the one that really kind of blew me away was TA had the chance to drive down the lane. I think it was Zeller waiting for him under the basket. He jumped over Zeller and finished with his left hand, which I didn't know Tony could do anything with his left hand.
Tony Allen was really good tonight.
He was fantastic.
He had a lot of finishes, both hands in the lane. He had a really nice dump-off pass to Randolph late in the game.
Mm-hmm. And most importantly, Celtics fans, he said that Boston has no fair-weather fans. So, nice compliment from TA. Once a Celtic, forever a Celtic, except he's really a Grizzly at this point. But we're going to sign off. So, for Julian, I'm Jared. We will see you after Friday's game against Orlando. Shout out to lynda.com and Peak Organic Brewing. This has been the Garden Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog.
Yeah, I twisted my ankle. I've had problems with my right ankle since last year, so anything on the right side is it hurts double. So that was tough. But we went back there and did some treatment and took some medicine and was able to dull the pain a little bit. And I said I needed to try to run it off and see if I could go, and was able to play.